Hi there, this is Bear, and I'd like to introduce you to my partner Shion, and we're going to talk to you more about B Love Flumies.
Welcome. So really happy to be here with Bear and at this beautiful place at the Memphis Drum Shop, and so delighted to be guests of Jim and Nancy, and we've come here to talk about our experience of playing flumies with gongs and the impact that it's had on our lives and our inner journey. But I think we'd like to start just talking about what mostly happens and what can go wrong with the flumies, and when people play flumies is that the ball comes off.
Yeah, some people report that the head of the flumi, these have a friction fit with the wooden shaft, and if you press too hard or you hold the flumi down here and not on the ball, the head can come off. But if you use the proper technique, this should never happen.
I've been playing flumies for, I think, 5 years now. I've never had a head come off. And the problem is that people find many reasons why they think the head has come off. We tend to find that there's really only one, which is that you've used too much pressure. And that's a really hard thing to take on board, because we think of ourselves as gentle beings and as soft beings, and it's not necessarily just so much about the attitude, but also how we hold our bodies in relation to the gong. And for me, coming from a place of a musician, playing gong with flumies is very much an inner practice, and observing my inner state when I approach the gong with the flumies. And the flumies are almost like, if you like, maybe calligraphy paintbrushes. I'm an acupuncturist also, so I think, the needle is also an extension. That's an extension of our own energy, and we're really a part of that. And that needs to reflect in our posture. In our workshops, we talk a little bit about certain Qigong practices, which probably won't be going into right now, but if you imagine yourself just really, that your upper body is really free. And Bear always talks about, when you play with the flumi, that you follow the tail, but also the movement really comes from the elbow. And why that is, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate this. What happens when my movement comes from the elbow is that my shoulder blades open up. And I don't know whether this is true, but this is my theory, that I think when our wings open up, the whole experience of the sound becomes quite something else. So that's why we teach these energy practices, and maybe you practice yoga, or maybe some other, some other practice. But be mindful of allowing a lot of space in your body, and to be really relaxed and open heart, empty mind. So coming back to the flumi, the ball coming off, that was a big detour, but I think maybe that makes you understand a bit more about approaching the gong softly with your flumi and not pressing too hard. Because often I think, when Bear demonstrated in another video how when you start playing flumi, maybe the sound doesn't appear straight away, but be really patient with that, When we play other musical instruments, we make something happen, but with the gong, it's almost like you're waiting for the sound to arrive. You're waiting for the sound to present itself to you, so to speak.
And you actually feel it before you hear it most of the time. You feel it through your thumb. And it's almost like a storyteller, and it's really okay. And if the sounds are soft, people will listen in, and then it comes. Give yourself lots of space. That's really important, isn't it? It's almost as if you can find that space within yourself with an empty mind and your open heart, there's some inner intelligence that almost choreographs what you need to do, following your inner wisdom. Just going back a little bit, so when the head comes off, people are pressed too hard, or they've been holding it here, the head will come off if you rub the gong like this. What they then do, they think, it's not glued in or something, and they press it so hard it comes out the top, my goodness. So it's necessary to have a friction fit. It's necessary that the length of the shaft, even with the long ones that have the really long shaft, don't mess around with them, please. And the carbon fibre ones are glued, and they require a very light touch. Okay.
It has interested me, actually, as a musician, to observe how little respect sometimes people have for the flumies. It's like they're really high-quality instrument.
Yes.
They need to be treated like a really high-class Stradivarius violin bow. You know, your instruments are your investments, your gongs, your flumies are your investments. And maybe this is a good time to say that when you think you need a new gong, you might just need a new flumi. Because the great thing about flumies is that they offer different soundscapes. You know, maybe a bit of a whale sound, or maybe something quite deep and, you know, meditative or whatever. So, you know, you have different ranges of sounds appearing on the same gong.
So I guess what's important is approaching the gong, isn't it? How you approach the gong and what you bring to the space before you play.
Yeah.
You know, empty mind, open heart.
And allowing possibilities also. What has astounded me about playing flumies with gongs is how, you know, you get to know your gong as you get to know your instrument. You know, maybe your new drum or maybe a flute or something. You know, they become like friends. And then very often we sort of get into the idea of, I do this with this gong, which is great. But always be open to other things, because that's the amazing thing about sound. It is completely infinite. And that's what we're connecting with also as gong players, is that infinity, that primordial energy. And you've got to be completely present with that. Like, wow, you know, it's like, that's how it is for me. This amazing thing happens. And sound really teaches us that we're not in control in that way, and really allowing that experience to happen. You know, what's remaining quite still, isn't it?
So to recap, I think we can go over things and just have a recap. So when you approach the gong to play, be at a really comfortable distance for an intimate conversation. Sit comfortably. Your back straight is really nice. Have a nice posture. Be aware of, have you got any ideas about what you want to play, and let them go. Perhaps a nice practice is to put the flumi on the gong and take a breath. And as you breathe out, just allow the gong, the flumi to move down the gong without wanting or desiring anything, but just being curious. Mm. That softness is essential, isn't it?
Like
for
you
those beautiful
introduce
sounds.
yourself,
Yes.
like an introduction.
Yes.
And really not the part of where the sound doesn't appear yet is as important as the part of when the sound appears. Because it's that moment of, you know, listening in, listening quietly. And I'm sure you've experienced this, people who do sound journeys, how quiet we can play and how powerful that is to really get people to pay full attention. You know, that's even maybe in their deeply relaxed state, it's like there's a full presence there. And that really allows us to use these tools. So it's like surfing, isn't it? It's like you engage with another power, as it were. Mm. You know, have to.
Thank you,
That's
Shion.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and Nancy, and all the crew at the Memphis Drum Shop.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.